In the next 5 seconds, you are about to see something no one ever expected. Just 5 more seconds, and you will understand why it is truly terrifying. Area 51 does not appear on most maps. There are no welcome signs. No public tours. No official explanations that go beyond carefully chosen words. It exists in silence, hidden deep within the Nevada desert, far from cities, far from witnesses, and far from questions that demand immediate answers. Officially, Area 51 is a testing site. A place where experimental aircraft are developed and evaluated. A location designed to protect advanced military technology from foreign intelligence. That explanation sounds reasonable, until you look closer. Because Area 51 is not built like a normal testing facility. It is not designed for efficiency. It is designed for isolation. Layered security fences stretch for miles. Restricted airspace extends far beyond the visible perimeter. If Area 51 were only protecting aircraft designs, this story would have ended decades ago. Blueprints age. Technology becomes obsolete. Secrets lose value. But Area 51 did not fade away. It expanded. Runways were extended. Facilities grew deeper underground. Security intensified rather than relaxed. That alone tells us something crucial. Whatever Area 51 protects is not historical. It is not finished. It is not resolved. It is ongoing. And ongoing secrets are far more dangerous than past ones. Because they require constant justification. To understand why secrecy at Area 51 has endured for so long, we must examine the nature of secrecy itself. Governments classify information for 3 primary reasons. To protect tactical advantage. To prevent public panic. To conceal uncertainty. The first reason is practical. The second is psychological. The third is institutional. And it is the third reason that matters most here. Institutions are built on the appearance of control. They manage borders. They regulate airspace. They claim authority over what happens within their domain. The moment an institution admits that something operates beyond its control, its authority weakens. And Area 51 exists at the intersection of that fear. Because whatever is being protected there appears to operate outside known limits. Objects reported near Area 51 do not behave like aircraft. They do not follow flight paths. They do not require runways. They hover. They accelerate instantly. They vanish. This is not simply advanced engineering. It is a different category of motion altogether. If such capabilities exist, they change the balance of power instantly. Not just militarily. Philosophically. They force a reconsideration of what dominance even means. Which leads to one of the most unsettling possibilities. What if Area 51 is not protecting technology humanity created, but technology humanity encountered? Recovered materials have been rumored for decades. Debris that does not match known alloys. Structures that appear engineered at an atomic level. Fragments that resist conventional analysis. These claims are controversial. But controversy does not erase persistence. They continue to surface because they have never been conclusively disproven. And the infrastructure of Area 51 aligns disturbingly well with this possibility. Containment facilities. Environmental control chambers. Isolation vaults. These are not required to store information. They are required to store objects. And objects imply origin. If something was recovered, the next question becomes unavoidable. Recovered from where? And under what circumstances? This is where silence becomes louder than denial. Because governments deny many things. But they rarely maintain absolute silence for decades unless the truth is destabilizing. Consider another possibility. What if Area 51 is not only storing recovered objects, but studying interactions? Interactions between humanity and something else. Not hostile. Not friendly. Simply present. The continued sightings near the base suggest something dynamic. Not a one-time event. Not a relic of the past. But an ongoing phenomenon. This suggests Area 51 may function as a monitoring point. A controlled environment where encounters are observed, recorded, and contained. Not to exploit, but to understand. Or perhaps, to prevent escalation. This reframes the question entirely. What if Area 51 exists not to protect secrets, but to protect stability? To ensure that whatever is being observed does not interfere openly with human systems. To ensure that contact, if it exists, remains limited. This would explain the extraordinary restraint. The careful language. The incremental disclosures. The refusal to draw conclusions publicly. Because drawing conclusions commits you to consequences. And consequences, once acknowledged, cannot be undone. Another critical aspect of the Area 51 mystery is jurisdiction. Many programs associated with the base reportedly operate under special access protocols. These protocols limit oversight. Even elected officials may lack full visibility. This creates a parallel structure. A system that exists alongside official governance, but is not fully accountable to it. This is not unprecedented, but it is rare, and it is usually reserved for matters of existential importance. Weapons of mass destruction, intelligence operations, national survival scenarios. So what places Area 51 in this category? What qualifies it for such extraordinary treatment? The answer may be uncertainty itself. Because uncertainty is dangerous. Not because it threatens lives, but because it threatens narratives. Narratives about human dominance, technological superiority, control over our environment. If Area 51 is protecting something that proves humanity is not alone, or not in control, then secrecy becomes a temporary shield, a way to delay confrontation with a new reality. But delay has limits. Technology has changed. Civilian senses are improving. Satellites are everywhere. Cameras are ubiquitous. Encounters are no longer limited to classified zones. They are appearing in public. And when the public sees what was once hidden, control shifts. This may explain why official language has changed in recent years. Not denial. Not confirmation. Acknowledgement without explanation. This is not transparency. It is preparation. Preparation for a future where silence is no longer possible. Before we reach that future, pause again. If this story resonates with you, take a moment to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. What do you believe Area 51 is really protecting? Technology, evidence, or something far more unsettling? Because the answer shapes how we interpret everything that follows. Now consider the most frightening possibility of all. What if Area 51 is not protecting us from an external threat, but protecting an agreement, an understanding, a boundary? This idea is rarely spoken aloud, but it emerges quietly in discussions among theorists and analysts. What if interaction has already occurred? Not invasion, not contact as portrayed in fiction, but limited engagement, observation, rules, constraints. Area 51 could function as a controlled interface, a place where encounters are managed rather than revealed. This would explain why activity continues without escalation, why objects appear but do not attack, why they observe but do not interfere, and why secrecy is absolute. Because revealing such an arrangement would change humanity's self-perception forever. It would mean we are not alone, not isolated, and not fully sovereign. That realization carries profound psychological consequences. It challenges religion, philosophy, politics, and institutions are not designed to handle that level of disruption overnight. So instead, they delay. They fragment information. They control language. They manage perception. Area 51 becomes the physical manifestation of that strategy. A place where the unknown is contained. Not solved. Contained. But containment is not permanent. History shows that no secret remains hidden forever. Truth emerges through cracks. Through witnesses. Through data. Through inevitability. And Area 51 may be approaching such a moment. Not because the government chooses it, but because the phenomenon itself allows it. If whatever is being observed decides to reveal itself more openly, no base, no fence, no classification can prevent it. And when that happens, the question will not be whether Area 51 was hiding something. The question will be whether it was doing the only thing it could. Buying time. Time for humanity to adjust. Time to prepare. Time to confront a reality that does not fit neatly into existing frameworks. As this video comes to an end, one final thought remains. Perhaps Area 51 is not protecting a single object, or a single truth. Perhaps it is protecting a transition. From ignorance to awareness. From certainty to humility. From isolation to connection. And maybe the reason it feels so unsettling is because deep down, we sense that the mystery is not about technology. It is about us. Our readiness. Our assumptions. Our place in a universe that may be far more complex than we imagined. Area 51 may not be guarding a secret forever. It may simply be guarding it until we are capable of understanding it. And the most unsettling question of all is this. What happens when that moment arrives? And beneath the desert floor, structures descend deep underground. This is not the architecture of routine research. This is the architecture of containment. For decades, the United States government refused to even acknowledge Area 51 existed. Not deny what happened there. Not explain its purpose. Simply deny its existence. That alone should raise questions. Governments deny many things, but they rarely deny physical locations. The denial persisted until satellite imagery made silence impossible. Only then did acknowledgement arrive. Yes, the base exists. Yes, testing occurs. And then, nothing more. No details. No transparency. No clarification. And that is where the real mystery begins. Because if Area 51 is simply protecting experimental aircraft, then secrecy makes sense, up to a point. But Area 51 goes far beyond what is necessary to protect aircraft designs. The base operates with a level of compartmentalization that is almost unprecedented. Personnel are rotated in and out under strict confidentiality. Many never learn what other departments are doing. Some never see the same facility twice. Knowledge is fragmented by design. And fragmentation is a powerful tool. It ensures that no single individual understands the full picture. Which raises an uncomfortable question. Why is it so important that no one sees everything? To answer that, we have to examine what Area 51 has been associated with over time. For years, pilots flying near restricted airspace reported strange encounters. Lights in the sky, objects that appeared suddenly, then vanished, craft that moved in ways that defied known aerodynamics. At first, these reports were dismissed as mistakes, optical illusions, stress, weather effects. But the reports continued, not just from civilians, from trained military pilots, people whose careers depend on accurate observation. And the descriptions were consistent. Objects without wings, without exhaust, without sound, objects that could hover, accelerate instantly, change direction without slowing. If these objects were experimental US aircraft, one would expect pilots within the same military structure to recognize them. But they did not. In fact, many pilots reported being warned not to talk about what they saw. Not reassured, not informed, warned. That response does not suggest routine testing. It suggests uncertainty, or fear. As technology advanced, radar systems became more capable. Infrared sensors improved. Detection expanded. And the strange encounters did not disappear. They increased. Objects were tracked moving from high altitude to sea level in seconds. Objects were seen entering restricted airspace without triggering alarms. Objects were observed hovering over sensitive locations. And Area 51 remained at the center of these patterns. Not because it attracted attention, but because it was already watching. Which brings us to the first critical question. Is Area 51 protecting something from the outside world? Or protecting the outside world from something inside? The design of the base suggests the latter is at least possible. Deep underground chambers are not required for aircraft storage. Heavily shielded containment units are not necessary for runways. Multi-layered isolation zones are not standard for research labs. They are standard for hazards. Biological, chemical, radiological, or something else entirely. Another disturbing detail is longevity. Area 51 is not a temporary installation. It has operated continuously for decades. That means whatever it protects is not a short-term project. It is not a prototype. It is not a phase. It is an ongoing concern. And ongoing concerns require constant monitoring, constant security, constant secrecy. Which raises another question. Why has no clear explanation ever been offered? Governments often justify secrecy by claiming national security. But national security explanations usually come with context. This is different. With Area 51, secrecy seems less about protecting advantage, and more about avoiding disclosure. Avoiding questions that cannot be answered safely. Because the moment the government explains what Area 51 truly protects, it must also explain why. Why such extreme measures are necessary. Why such long-term secrecy is justified. Why the public has been excluded entirely. And some answers may be more destabilizing than silence. There is another possibility that is rarely discussed openly. What if Area 51 is not protecting technology at all? What if it is protecting evidence? Evidence of something recovered. Something not created by human hands. This idea has existed for decades. Often dismissed as science fiction. But dismissal does not equal refutation. When officials are asked directly whether non-human technology has ever been recovered, the answers are careful. They do not say no. They say there is no publicly available evidence. That distinction matters. Because public evidence depends on permission. And permission is rarely granted for things that challenge reality itself. Consider the infrastructure again. Containment chambers. Isolation vaults. Environmental control systems. These are not necessary for blueprints. They are necessary for materials, objects, artifacts. And artifacts raise questions about origin. If something was recovered, the next logical question is where it is stored. Not in a visible location. Not in a public facility. In a place designed to disappear. A place like Area 51. But even this possibility may not go far enough. Because if Area 51 were only protecting recovered objects, why does activity continue? Why do sightings persist? Why do unidentified objects still appear in nearby airspace? Unless what is being protected is not just evidence of the past, but interaction in the present. This is where the mystery becomes deeply unsettling. Because it suggests that Area 51 may not be guarding a static secret. It may be guarding an ongoing relationship. Monitoring. observation, containment, perhaps even communication. That idea is uncomfortable, not because it implies danger, but because it implies humanity is not alone in its domain. And that realization has consequences no government can fully control. At this point, it is important to pause. If you are still listening, you are already asking the right questions. So before we go further, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment with your thoughts. Because what comes next is where the story becomes far more disturbing. Area 51 is not just isolated geographically. It is isolated legally. Many programs associated with it operate under extreme classification. Some reportedly exist outside normal oversight. Budgets are obscured. Chain of command is unclear. Accountability is limited. This structure allows operations to continue without scrutiny. And while that may be acceptable for short-term projects, it becomes dangerous when applied indefinitely. Because indefinite secrecy allows truth to drift. Facts become rumors. Rumors become myths. And myths thrive in silence. One of the most telling signs that Area 51 protects something extraordinary is how language is used. Officials rarely say what happens there. They say what does not happen there. They deny specific claims. They correct exaggerated stories. But they never offer a complete alternative narrative. And when a government refuses to replace a story, it allows imagination to fill the gap. But imagination alone does not build underground cities. It does not justify decades of secrecy. And it does not explain persistent unexplained activity. Which brings us back to the core question. What is Area 51 really protecting? It may be protecting technology too advanced to reveal. It may be protecting evidence too disruptive to release. Or it may be protecting humanity from knowledge it is not ready to confront. Because some truths do not threaten safety. They threaten identity. If Area 51 holds proof that humanity is not the dominant intelligence it assumed, then secrecy becomes a form of damage control. Not to protect lives, but to protect belief systems. Beliefs about control. Beliefs about power. Beliefs about our place in the universe. And belief systems are fragile. Once broken, they cannot be restored. This is why disclosure, if it happens, is always partial, carefully managed, gradual, because sudden truth shocks systems. Political, economic, psychological, and Area 51 sits at the center of that tension. Not as a villain, but as a vault. A place where answers are locked away until the world can handle them. Or until they can no longer be contained.